Hi everyone, back today with a card that I have already shown you. So this was in my last video. My last video I went through with you just the process of some cards that I had been making with one process video at the end. But this is one that I didn't show you how I made, but I did tell you how I came up with the idea. This is probably my favourite card that I made that day. And although that day I wanted to sit down and make a whole bunch of cards, I just wanted to use the retiring ink colours that I had. So you can go back and watch that video. I'll put a link in the description of this one. But when I make cards, my process generally is when I find a card I really like, I will go make it in different colours and see what combinations really work well and what don't, and just have a bit of fun with it. So today I'm going to go through that. So this is the card I made with Strawberry Slush and Coastal Cabana. So they are retiring. They're only valid this month. So what I decided to do was make it in some different colours, and I decided why not the new ink colours that are going to start next month. So whilst I was doing that, I thought I'm going to show you guys how to get the most out of your cardstock for this particular card. So I've worked out how to make this card. The minimum you need is 4 sheets of cardstock and you'll make 4 cards. So that's the minimum, and then you can keep adding in 2 sheets and making 2 extra cards. So it's a bit confusing now, but I'll show you as I go along how my thoughts have come to that. Okay, so this is the card we're going to make, so I'll put that aside and we'll start. So I got out my new ink colours. So I got out 2 sheets each of the 5 colours. Now I picked that many because there's 5 new colours. So I'll end up making 10 cards with these 10 pieces of cardstock. So the colours we've got, there's Watermelon Wonder, Mint Macaroon, Delightful Dijon, Cucumber Crush, and Tip Top Top. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, I'm not up with the new ink colour names just yet. It won't take long and I'm sure I will know them all. Okay, so as I said, you can make 4 cards minimum to get the most out of your cardstock. So you could choose just 2 colours, but what you want is 2 sheets of the one colour. So the minimum that you'd have to make is 4 sheets, 2 each of 2 colours. Okay, and that's how we will get the best out of this card for as minimum cardstock as possible. So of course, if you've got lots of scrap pieces of cardstock running around, you can make this card using anything that you want. It doesn't really matter, but to get the most out of your cardstock, this is how I've found that I've worked it out. So what we want to do is take 1 each of the pieces of cardstock and to cut it in half and then to score it again to get our base. So we will end up with 10 bases, 2 of each colour. Okay, so that's just going to be the base of our card. So we have all those cut and pre-scored ready to go. Then with our other sheet, what we're going to do, I'll just get one for an example here. Just need to move my inks. I needed to read those ink colours off my ink pads because I don't know the names yet. Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to cut out the mat that's going to go onto the front of each of the card. So because we're going to be doing 2 cards in the one colour, we're going to get 2 mats out of this one piece. So I cut that at 5 5/8 by 3 7/8. So cut that one piece off, and then 3 7/8. Right, and then we're going to have our 2 mats. So we want to do that in each of the 5 colours, just on one of the piece of cardstocks. We'll end up with 2 mats in each colour, and we're going to end up with a nice little strip off the end here, and that's going to be where the little sentiment's going to go onto here. So we'll be able to get 2 out of that one piece, like that. Okay, so then out of the piece that we've just cut off, we're going to grab out our Big Shot. And we're going to run this through. So it's the right size we can put it through without having to cut it down anymore. But what we're going to do, let me move my Big Shot up. Oh, it's around the wrong way. That will help. Just the handle, I'll be reaching over trying to put that through. Okay, so what we're going to do is you can add in a bit of the baking paper if that's what you like to do with your Thinlits and Framelits. It just helps to pop them out, because we're going to be using the butterfly, which is very, very intricate, and we're going to be using the word Thinlits as well. They're very thin and intricate, and it just helps them pop out a little bit. So if you don't like using the baking paper, then use whatever you like to use. But what we're going to do is, out of this sheet, we're going to get 2 butterflies and 2 words. So there's no problem with that happening. So what we just want to do is put butterfly up here, and I'm going to use a happy, and I'm going to use hello, so I can run that through at the same time. If you wanted everything to be happy birthday or the same word, that's all right. We're going to run it through again for our second butterfly anyway. So you'd only run through one word at a time and redo that same word. But I'm going to make happy birthdays and hellos with this card, so I can run those through at the same time. So we're going to, oh, that's stiff today. Okay. Run that through. Sorry, I don't normally do it right here under the camera. Makes it a little bit harder. So if you have trouble getting your Thinlits out, all you need is just a little paper piercer, and this is my old paper piercer. It's a little bit blunt, which makes it even better. But you just poke the little holes. There's little holes in most of these Thinlits that are a bit hard to pop out. And there we go. So we just need to remove that baking paper, if you do use that, off the top. And just poke out any of the intricate pieces that didn't pop out. And we've got one butterfly, and we've got a happy, clean that one up, and one hello. Okay, and now you can see that we have room left over here to run that butterfly through again. Now, if you're going to be using the large words out of the set, so if you're going to be using 2 happies or the thanks, I think the thanks is the biggest word, just be careful how you move them on here. You will fit both of them on there. Just a little bit tricky, just to make sure that you aren't overlapping them just a little bit. Okay, so we run through our second butterfly. Okay. And then what we need to do is do that with all 5 colours, or however many you're going to be doing. Okay. Move those out of the way now. Right, so we get 2 butterflies and 2 words out of all 5. Here we go. Here's some I prepared earlier. Out of all 5 of the colours. So aren't they just super gorgeous? I love all the intricacy out of these Thinlits. They're beautiful. Okay, so what we're going to end up with is our 10 base cardstocks, and then we're going to have our 10 mats, our 10 butterflies, and our 10 words, and then we're also going to have our little bits of the cut-offs here to make our sentiment here down at the bottom. Okay, so that's everything we need. So we've got everything we need out of the 10 pieces of cardstock for our 10 cards. Now, if you're like me and you like to stamp the matching envelope and the matching inside, if you like to have inserts, you will need to have those extra. So I have my 10 inserts here, and I have my 10 envelopes. Here we go. I knew I put them somewhere. So that's just if you like to do them at the same time, make sure they're out on your table so that we can get it all done in the one go, and you can get these 10 cards made super quick. Okay, so now the next step is we're going to do the mats. So we're going to stamp on the flower on the mats. So out of this stamp set, the Crazy About You, I used the flower stamp. And what I'm going to do is just mix it up, and I'm going to do the 3 different stamps on different cards. So I don't think I'll use more than one stamp on a card. I think I'm just going to use like all the leaf on one and then all this flower on one. So I'll show you how we do one, and then I'll cut the camera off because you don't want me to see me doing 10 of those all at once. Alright, so to do it, all we do is we grab out our mat and the same coloured ink. So we want the Watermelon Wonder for this one. And then we've got our stamps. So the circle one, the flower, and the leaf. So you can see here I used the flower one, but I might use the circle one on this one. And what we want to do is, it doesn't matter where you start, just move it around so that it's going to fill up the whole of the card. Doesn't matter if you go over, that's what the grid paper is for. Or if you just got some scrap paper, just make sure that's underneath so you don't get ink everywhere. Now I stuffed up there, that's okay, I don't mind, it's a handmade card. Photopolymer stamps are very good that I could work out exactly where I am over the top of it and stamp it again, but I don't mind. It's going to be the background anyway, we'll probably cover up with some of the butterfly. So here we go, there's one. Now don't forget you've got two colours to do. So I might use the leaf on this one, and it's the same concept. Because this isn't a symmetrical stamp, you do want to turn it around a bit so that it's not all going in the same direction. But you just want to fill the card up. Now these ink pads are brand new, I've only just received them, so they are quite juicy. If you have a problem with your juicy ink pads, you can always just push some of that ink back down into the bottom of the ink pad. So you can do that in a couple of different ways. I use my bone folder, which is why if you've ever watched my videos, you can see there's a lot of ink staining on the bottom of my bone folder. It doesn't do anything to the bone folder, it's just a bit of ink staining. But you could use like a plastic spoon, just make sure there's no sharp bits that hasn't come off properly in the manufacturing of it. Just something with a nice plastic edge, or you could even use the edge of your the blocks here. And what you want to do is just push some of that ink down to the bottom. Some people like to do it in a crisscross manner. It doesn't really matter. You can just push it down a little bit and just get some of that ink down the bottom because it was too much. Because they're brand new, they're so juicy. So then to clean that off, I just use my scrubbing mat and to take that off. Okay, so you just that's how you clean them up. Okay, so I'm going to go and do all 10 of my mats now in the different colours, and I'll be back. And one more thing before I go and stamp up all my mats is to, whilst I've got the stamp out with the ink, to stamp my insert in my envelope if that's what you like to do.